This talk is about perceptual load and sex-specific personality traits, the impact of the big 5 personality dimensions on visual search. We ran 3 experiments with 65 participants, 27 men and 38 women. We used a random sampling and screened for color blindness. We tested the same participants for all 3 experiments so that personality is constant. The scales of the Big 5 personality test are extroversion, openness, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and we also tested for an AQ score in the autistic spectrum. You can see that there is just one significant correlation in men above the diagonal with 0.50 between neuroticism and AQ. We get the same correlation for the women, but diminished in size. There are also other correlations in women between conscientiousness and openness with extroversion, as well as openness with neuroticism. The 3 experiments vary according to stimulus complexity. Experiment 1 devises very simple stimuli. Experiment 2 has double-barreled, more visually complex stimuli, and the 3rd experiment has a mix of 2 types of stimuli plus a 3rd one in terms of color. The comparisons of the 3 experiments shows that as long as complexity is consistent and predictable, accuracy is fairly high, and these are D prime scores adjusted for false positives. But once visual complexity is not predictable, as in experiment 3, accuracy is reduced to below 50%. Reaction times are significantly slower for visually complex stimuli. If there were both simple and complex stimuli present, reaction times are actually between experiment 1 and experiment 2. We obtained very expectable effects of visual search tasks, which are well known and which confirm previous research. Accuracy was higher when the target was present. There are longer reaction times when the target was absent because of diligent search. Pop-out search was more accurate and faster than conjunction search. Larger amount of distractors could reduce accuracy and slow down reaction times. These main effects could combine to higher order interactions, demonstrating visual challenge. With respect to the sex-type personality effects in experiment 1, the higher the men's AQ score, the faster were their reaction times. Likewise, when men were highly neurotic, they also looked for a shorter time for the target and broke off their search quicker when the target was absent. In contrast, women higher on openness were more accurate in the visual search, and highly conscientious women searched for a longer time to find a target when it was absent. In all figures, the lines of women's scores are always in red and they are in blue for men. Women needed longer when the target was absent, and especially when they were low in neuroticism, while men high in neuroticism were the fastest. Likewise, highly conscientious women searched the longest when the target was absent, while highly conscientious men were the fastest to make a decision. In experiment 2, with complex stimuli, there were no effects of personality on men's visual search accuracy and reaction times. Women low in openness were slow and became increasingly slow in the conjunction search the more distractors were present. The same was true of women with introverted personalities, as their reaction times became longer than 2000 milliseconds. So in conjunction search, women low in openness became very distracted by more visually complex distractors. Likewise, introverted women, but also introverted men, though this was not significant, were the most distracted by more visually complex distractors. In experiment 3, we have a mix of simple and complex stimuli. Accuracy had become very low, but this was the same for all participants. Men, both when highly neurotic or highly agreeable, were the fastest when deciding whether a target was absent. In contrast, when visually challenged, highly agreeable women were the slowest to make a decision, and this is clearly visible in the next figure. Here the target is absent. So to summarize, simple stimuli encouraged especially men with neurotic or autistic traits to fast reaction times, and they were breaking off the search quicker when no target was present. The simple stimuli induced conscientious and agreeable women to slow down even if the target was present. When the perceptual load was high with complex stimuli, men did not show an impact of personality traits on their search, but women, if introverted or with low scores on openness, slowed down in their reaction times to scores more typical for children. So our conclusion is that perceptual load mediates the impact of sex-specific personality traits on speed of visual search. Thank you very much for your attention.